Hello loves, hello queens, welcome to another episode of the Body Love Binge. You of course, as usual, I assume know the title. And this title is a bunch of questions because I put a box up on my Instagram stories and I had a bunch of you reply and I'm very grateful for that. And I've chosen a few that kind of make sense to put into one episode. And I've created an episode out of it. So the title questions of course are, am I sick enough? How to stop delaying recovery, how to get started with recovery. And by the way, anyone else who did ask a question or give a suggestion for a topic for the podcast, I will be answering those in either reels throughout the next couple of weeks or in the next episode, so keep an eye out for those. So Heidi says, how do I know if I'm ill enough? How to start with recovery? What to eat? I don't know where to start. Mind the Unstable Gap said, how to recognise if I'm ready to attempt recovery. Pity said, how to stop delaying recovery, although I definitely want to recover. So I'm going to answer each one in depth. And so the first one that makes sense to talk about is the question, how do I know if I am ill enough? This question has been brought to my attention many times in different ways. Other ways of saying the same thing are, other people have it way worse than me, it's not that bad in comparison. I'm not thin enough to have an eating disorder. It's not like I don't eat at all. I can still manage to do my job, be a mum, get shit done, etc. I'm binging, so I'm definitely not sick enough. Everyone diets and worries about their weight anyway, right? I don't particularly love labels, as we tend to identify with the labels that we give ourselves and that are given to us. However, it can be really helpful to acknowledge the severity of where you're currently at, because we cannot change unless we meet ourselves with radical honesty. We cannot change unless we meet ourselves with brutal honesty and then accept where we are first. Being in denial or not allowing yourself to see what you're actually struggling with, it gets you nowhere. So let me make it clear. If your relationship to food and your body is negatively affecting your life and your well-being, then you are sick enough. You don't need to be emaciated in a hospital being tube fed before you are sick enough. You don't need to wait until you're practically at death's door and not eating a thing until you are considered sick enough. You are sick enough now to get help and to get your life back, or maybe even create a life you actually like and want to live if you've never really had a nice life before. I was binging my face off in secret, fully weight restored, and I didn't think I was sick enough to have an eating disorder because at least I was eating, and in my opinion, I was eating way too much. I allowed myself to admit that I had an eating disorder when I was diagnosed with anorexia as a teenager, but not when I started eating again. But truth be told, I never actually healed from the anorexia. The anorexia just morphed into bulimia, which I thought was only binge eating because I couldn't make myself sick. I did, however, severely use laxatives, I over-exercised a lot, and I restricted my food intake, all as a way to try to compensate for the damage of the binges that I had. That's bulimia. Any form of trying to compensate for the binges is bulimia. Before I started true recovery at 30 years old, do not wait that long. And I know some of you listening are older than that, and I've helped clients in their 70s fully recover. It's never too late. But before I started true recovery at 30, the bulimia had turned into primarily binge eating. I wanted to compensate by restricting my food, by taking the usual insane amount of laxatives, by over-exercising, but I just couldn't do it anymore. I seemed to have lost the ability to restrict. My body was done with it. It fought back before I even had chance to attempt restriction again. I was thinking about wanting to restrict a lot. I was telling myself I should, I needed to, I wish I could. but I couldn't do it anymore. And yeah, sure, my legs didn't walk themselves to the shops and buy the binge food. My hand didn't automatically put itself into the binge food, put it into my mouth, and then make me eat anything. But I honestly felt like I could not binge. I was like a passenger to the urges that I had. My body was so done with the over-exercising. I was in so much pain. I had injuries. My joints ached. I was tired. I just couldn't do it anymore. The last thing I could face was another 90-minute high-intensity interval training session. My body was done with that. And my digestion was done with years of laxative abuse. I just couldn't do all of it anymore. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Please help somebody. And so what I did instead, I just hid away and binged, simultaneously hating myself even more and feeling even more and more like a failure every day. I was jealous of the past version of me who had more willpower than I did, and I wanted to be her again. And so, my love, you are sick enough. I don't care if you're binging your face off, whether you consider yourself as fat or weight restored or anything else. If your thoughts, feeling and life revolve around food and fear of weight gain, you are sick enough and you deserve to get help. The next question, how to recognize if I'm ready to attempt recovery? This question actually made me smile, and you'll see why when I share my answer. You will never feel ready to recover. It's a truth bomb. You'll never feel ready to recover. However, you do get to a place where you are so done, like I shared just before, where you are so done with your current way of living and you want something different for yourself. Sure, you have no idea how to get that. You are so paralyzed by fear, but something within you wants a different future than the one you're currently living in now. The fact that you asked this question shows that something inside of you is wanting the permission and the persuasion to choose recovery and to say yes to yourself and to freedom, right? There's also a part of you that doesn't believe you can fully recover because you've used the word attempt. So the question was how to recognize if I'm ready to attempt recovery. This is, of course, totally normal. Of course, you're not going to believe you can fully recover. A belief needs to be created through evidence and through letting go of your current beliefs that are keeping you stuck from creating and believing a new belief. The good news is I believe in you until you believe in yourself. So with the right support, you absolutely can and will recover. And that's why, in my opinion, that investing in yourself with your time, with your energy, with your money is a crucial part of your transformation. The transformation begins in the transaction. I've experienced this myself many times, especially when I signed up with my first coach at 30 years old. It was a shitload of money for me at the time. I didn't have it. I had to put it on my credit card. But the act of choosing me and the act of choosing recovery enabled me to show up even when it got tough. Even when I wanted to quit, I had skin in the game. So when you decide to recover, your mind is made up. There's no attempt. Of course there'll be fear. There'll be lots of fear. And in my opinion, that's why you need a professional who has been through recovery themselves to support you on this path. There's nothing that can stop the power, though, when you decide to recover. A man's mind made up is unstoppable. So it's getting to that decision, and actually the word decide comes from a Latin word decis, which means to cut away. So no other option is available apart from the one that you've made your mind up with, which is recovery, right? And a professional who knows what they're doing can support you into getting to this place. It's not about persuading you, because the power and the choice and the decision has got to come from within, but it's a skilled way of asking the right questions and Also showing yourself that you're so ready for this. So to answer your question with a question, and those of you who know me by now know how much I love my questions, is the pain of staying where you are worse than the fear of the unknown being the recovery journey? I'm just going to ask that again and think about this. Is the pain of staying where you are worse than the fear of the unknown into recovery? And let me tell you this, pushing through the fear of recovery is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness. I am going to say that again because it's so freaking powerful. Pushing through the fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness. So, are you, quote unquote, ready to recover? All right, the next one. How to stop delaying recovery even though I definitely want to recover. Now, delaying is all fear-based, right? We know that tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is always in the very near future, which is why it can feel like you're doing something positive for your recovery if you say, I'll start tomorrow. Also, if you're constantly thinking about recovery, reading about it, learning about it, but not actually taking any action, then nothing will actually change unless you change something. It's all in the action. You cannot think or educate yourself into freedom. You need to act your way to freedom and to recovery. Wanting is also different to being willing. So you say you want to recover, but are you willing to do what it takes to get yourself there? Because you can get there, full recovery, full freedom. You can, everyone can. You just have to face your fears and take the actions to recover. The fear of weight gain, the fear of losing control, the fear of losing who you are, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of what might come up when you dive into your childhood stuff, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear beneath the fear. There's so much fear, right? I know, I have been there, trust me. And the fear beneath the fear is this. The fear beneath the fear is that whatever happens to you in recovery, you don't think you can handle it. You don't think you'll be able to cope with it. But I know you can handle it. That's why I'm so fucking great at what I do. My clients feel the investment, the belief, the knowing that I have for them, that I know they can and will move through the fear and get to the other side, right? All your brain needs is a few pieces of evidence to support you that you can indeed face your greatest fears and not die. Instead, you survive, you grow, and you thrive. That's when the rubber really meets the road. So, what are you waiting for? If not now, when? The question how to start with recovery. The best place to start is to get support. Hire a coach if you can. Do whatever it takes to get the resources together, as coaching with a decent coach is life-changing. I support my clients step by step so they know exactly what to do. If that's not doable for you in any way, then join a trusted free support group and participate in there. Ask questions, share your struggles, connect with others and share what you're experiencing day to day and connect with the others that are on the same journey as you. And I have a free support group that I'm very active in, and the women are so supportive to each other. It's lovely. So the link will be below if you've not joined already. And there's loads of other support groups out there. Find one that resonates with you and tell your loved ones that you're starting recovery. Declare it out loud. Write a letter of declaration to yourself declaring recovery. Make it official for yourself. Have a ceremony around it, a ritual around it. This is the day. Right now, this is when I choose freedom and recovery. And then, of course, there's some incredible books that I suggest you read on your recovery journey. I'm going to list the ones that I've recommended. The top 6 are the ones that I've read and recommend. And then I'll list another 7 that the ladies in my group have recommended that have really helped them. If you want to see this in black and white, if you're watching the YouTube or the podcast right now, it's on the blog that has this episode on there, so you can see them in black and white. So first one, Rehabilitate, Rewire, Recover by the incredible Tabitha Farrar. Love Tabitha, love her approach. The only thing I feel like is missing for her approach is the trauma stuff, the body image stuff, because she had no body image concerns before the eating disorder. I did. I had a shitload of it, and I had a lot of childhood stuff too. So that's the thing, the big stuff that I feel is missing. But in order to recover, the step-by-step and the no-nonsense approach she takes is incredible. The next one is the Homeodynamic Recovery Method by Gwyneth Olwyn. It's a bit, I wouldn't say it is sciencey, but it's not easy to read, but it's definitely worth a read. It's got so much value in there. The Fuck It Diet by Caroline Dooner, great book. Seriously, it feels like I've literally written that one. And by the way, I am writing my book, so mine will be top of the list when I've finished it, of course. Life Without Ed by Jenny Schaefer. I'm not going to say the author's names because I'm going to get these wrong. Accept That You Are Imperfect. I actually will say the author of this one because she was on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, by Jade Grantham. Body Positive Power, An Apple a Day, The Girls at 17 Swan Street, An Internal Family Systems Guide to Recovery from Eating Disorders, Brainwashed ED, Bulimia Sucks, 8 Keys to Recover from an Eating Disorder, Bulimia Help Method. Okay, so of course with books, the most important thing is that you implement and take action on what you're learning. Otherwise, you'll just know more about recovery, but you won't actually be living it and you won't be getting closer to freedom. The next thing is to write a list of all the eating disorder behaviours that you currently engage with. For example, waiting as long as possible in the day before eating anything, weighing yourself, weighing, counting and measuring your food, standing up instead of sitting down at work, walking X amount of steps a day, only eating carbs once a day, only allowing chocolate at the weekends, etc., etc. When you've done that, and it might be a very long list, write why this is not serving you anymore. Write why you want to let go of these behaviours. Actually do these suggestions, my loves, that I'm suggesting you do, because they're really a game changer and they really help propel you towards taking action. Next, write a plan of action for each eating disorder behaviour. For example, waiting as long as possible in the day before eating. The plan of action would be eat within half an hour of waking up. Weighing, counting and measuring your food. The plan of action to counteract this behaviour would of course be stop weighing, counting and measuring your food. Weighing yourself. Stop immediately. Standing up instead of sitting down when working. Only allocate yourself that you're allowed to stand up for so many minutes a day. Walking X amount of steps a day. Get rid of all calorie counting devices and practice following your body's healthy feeling on how much to move. Only eating carbs once a day. Eating carbs at every meal and every snack. Only allowing chocolate at the weekend. Allowing chocolate at any time on any day. Obviously, it's easier to put this in black and white, and you'll no doubt have fears and objections about just doing the opposite of what your current eating disorder behaviours are, which again is why support from someone who knows what they're doing is crucial. You need to be working on the fears underlying changing these behaviours. Otherwise, you'll only be working on the behaviours themselves, which won't lead to lasting recovery. That's why I work in a very holistic way with the 5 pillars of my Real Recovery Roadmap. And if you don't know those, they are number 1, trauma release, number 2, inner child connection, number 3, body image work, number 4, self-love, and number 5, healing and repairing your relationship with food. When you've done that, Identify any blocks or challenges that you might face when implementing these changes, and then make a plan of action for each. So for example, I'll give you one example for this. Let's say eating within half an hour of waking. The challenge might be you're going to be distracting yourself, being busy, and so you actually eat later than within the planned half an hour. A plan of action could be to ask the person you live with, if applicable, to make breakfast for you, which is even scarier, right? Which is even better for recovery. Or hold you accountable to you eating within half an hour of getting up. You could set an alarm on your phone with a sassy message when the alarm goes off, and the message could read something like, "Listen, my love, delaying eating will only keep you stuck where you are. Do you want that? Well then, it's time to eat. You've got this." You could promise a friend that you'll send them a photo of your breakfast every morning before a certain time. Have a go at this, like really delve deep into, right, these are the eating disorder behaviors I'm currently engaging in. This is the opposite to this eating disorder behavior. This is the challenges that might come up for me when attempting, I've even used that word, I'm scrapping that. These are the challenges that might come up for me when doing the opposite to the eating disorder behavior, and here is how I'm going to navigate and get through this. And again, that's why support's really crucial, because we can't do this alone, in my opinion. Bottom line is, get started, because if not now, when? Right, and so what do you eat is the next question. The short answer to this is you will eat whatever your body, mind, and cravings want. However, I know it's not as straightforward as that for most, so here's my longer answer. If you don't currently have hunger signals, either mental or physical ones, then start with 3 meals, 2 snacks, and 1 dessert every day, minimum. Each meal could include at least 1 carb, at least 1 fat, and at least 1 protein. Fiber can be added, but not in excess. So what I mean by that is don't fill 3/4 of your plate up with veggies and salad and then have like a very small pathetic portion of anything else. And this all applies whether you're experiencing anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating, right? It's connecting to your body. If you don't have any of those signals, follow this guide. This might look like, for breakfast, 2 slices of toast with butter, 2 fried eggs, smashed avocado, and some fried cherry tomatoes. Or it might look like porridge made with full-fat milk, peanut butter, banana, seeds, and honey. For a snack mid-morning, it might look like a flapjack, which I don't think you guys in America know what a flapjack is. It's so good. It's like a British oat bar that you make with golden syrup and nuts and seeds, sometimes with chocolate. It's so good. A lunch could be, as an example, a jacket potato with cheese and beans and a salad. All the leftovers from dinner from the night before. A snack could be a chocolate bar and a pot of yogurt. Dinner could be lasagna, garlic bread and salad. And dessert could be chocolate brownie and ice cream. To help you with portion sizes, imagine that you're serving out your portion for breakfast, lunch, dinner and snacks for a loved one who actually likes and enjoys food. If you're at a cafe or a restaurant, this is actually easier because, of course, the portion's already done for you. What to eat specifically, that is entirely up to you. Imagine you're speaking to little you when you were a child. What would she like to eat? For example, one of my clients who connected with her little child, which was her when she was younger, she wanted to eat frazzles, which is like a bacon flavoured crisp or chip if you're in America, like in a bag, and crumpets with butter and cheese, and then mini eggs. So eat that. If you really haven't got a clue, then you can look to others who eat normally, that's like underlined. Look to others for inspiration who eat normally. So you can even Google typical breakfast ideas, typical lunch ideas, typical dinner ideas. Obviously, avoid any diet and clean eating websites. BBC Good Food is a nice website for recipes actually and ideas. If you have mental hunger, which I would bank on the fact that you do, then follow that. Mental hunger is thinking about food. For example, if you're thinking about cheese on toast, eat that. Yes, you'll have fear, obviously, but it's okay. The fear can't hurt you. The eating disorder can. If you're thinking about chocolate, eat some. Even if you're physically full, your body will show you what it needs. Keep following your cravings and keep following your desires and eat whatever it is you want without holding back. I know this might sound quite ridiculous, but it's the only way to full freedom and peace around food. And actually, if you think about it, it makes logical sense. You want what you need. And so if you didn't want cheese, you wouldn't be thinking about cheese so much. For example, I'm not sat here daydreaming about a cheese toastie with red onion chutney and a salad like I used to be daydreaming about, right? I'm just not bothered about it in this moment. This is because I allowed myself to have these cheese toasties whenever I wanted them, even with this petrifying fear of weight gain. I still allowed that because that's what I trusted in my coach, in my body, and that's what I fucking paid for, to follow this coach's advice, right? Even when it was getting really hard and scary. If you've restricted for however many years, then you're going to feel obsessed with food when you eventually allow yourself to eat. This is normal and this will pass the more you allow all eating. And I want to speak here about your fear foods. If you are unable to eat just because of the paralyzing fear, and I've been there, what can be helpful for you to do is to make a list of your fear foods. I've wrote here, make a list of your fears, which doesn't make sense. Make a list of your fear foods and put them in colour order. So the ones that you label as red give you the most fear. The ones that you label as orange, kind of middle, and the ones that you label as yellow, yes, fearful, but not so much. I did go all in my recovery journey because I was such an overachiever. I wanted to overachieve at recovery, and so I started right away with my red foods. But you can start to add in your yellow foods and then your orange foods and then eventually your red foods. One of my red foods was Nutella, because I used to binge on it uncontrollably. Those of you that know me by now will know that I used to literally get a jar of Nutella, whack it in the microwave and just drink it. And so what I would do is I'd start to add Nutella into my porridge in the morning. I would start to put it on toast as a snack. It became less and less charged. The pedestal that I'd put it on, it came off the pedestal. It just ended up being Nutella that I can have in the house and eat when I want some and not have some and just be normal around it. If you don't binge and you're terrified of a certain food, so terrified that you haven't eaten it for years, then the above process will still work for you. You train yourself by your behaviors. And so you'll be showing yourself that it's actually okay to eat this scary food, and you won't combust into flames after all, and you can handle the feelings of guilt and fear afterwards. And the last thing I wanted to say to wrap up this episode is getting support. I know I keep repeating myself, but support through this process is so crucial in my opinion. And I'm not just saying this over and over again in this episode so that everyone will be lining up to want to work with me. If I'm the coach for you, then great. I genuinely can't wait to meet you. But if not, or if coaching isn't doable for you, and my one-to-one coaching services start from €1,000, then get support somehow, some way. Because with coaching, the accountability, the step-by-step process, the support, the guidance, the tough love, the compassion, and having someone in your corner who actually gets it is priceless. Either way, you don't have to do this alone. So like I said, if coaching isn't doable for you, join a free support group. I have a great one. Read those books, but take that action. You are not alone. You are sick enough. You'll never be ready. The time is now. Stop letting fear get in the way of what you truly want. and start now, because if not now, then when? All right, my loves, I hope this episode was helpful. I really enjoyed recording it, as always. Any questions, please let me know. If you could rate this 5 stars, this podcast, thumbs up on YouTube, all of that jazz, it really helps people find me and get the support they need. So thank you in advance, sending you so much love, and I'll see you next week. Mwah.